Hey guys, this is Man to Man Podcast, a podcast about all kinds of basketball. I'm one of your hosts, Jacob Rosenfarb.
And I'm your other host, Jeff Griffith, and we are without our loving producer today, Josh Zaklis. He's just a busy man. And as we now transition to 2 podcasts a week, one college, one NBA, today's college day, and no Josh because he's a busy man. As I said, he'll be with us back here on Thursday for the NBA podcast, but today it's just Jacob and I.
Yep.
And we're talking college hoops. So one of the biggest things that happened this week that I think got some talk on Twitter was Duke. Of course, they pulled apart limb from limb Kentucky last week by 34, whatever, 34, 33.
Eviscerated them, yeah.
Yep, precisely. Great word.
Thank you,
word.
appreciate that.
They jump the largely consensus number 1 team from the preseason, the Kansas Jayhawks, into the number 1 spot on the AP Top 25. And I was looking up, I'm not sure if it's ever happened that a number 1 team has lost and fallen to number 2. I'm sorry, has not lost.
There you go.
And fallen to number 2.
Yeah.
An undefeated number 1 team that hasn't lost drops out of the top spot.
Exactly.
Now, does that tell us one of 3 things? How good Duke is, how overrated Kansas was, or how much people are overrating what they've seen from Duke?
I think the third. Third in that they're overrating Duke, and partly in that they're overrating Kentucky. Like Kentucky, we talked about this on the last podcast.
Absolutely.
Like that, Kentucky was the perfect team for Duke to be, considering this is a team with equal sort of experience. They're both going to be super reliant on freshmen and natural athleticism, things of that nature. If Duke had played someone much more composed and like a senior-led team, I feel like they would have had much more difficulties. But because they beat up on this freshman-laden Kentucky team, they looked way better than I think they actually
Absolutely. I mean, we saw both of those things kind of get proven as the weekend went on because Kentucky barely beat Southern Illinois. I mean, they ended up winning by 12, but they're up by 3 at halftime.
Yeah.
Up by 5, like midway through the second half. Southern Illinois, the same team that also just played ranked Buffalo last night. We'll get to Buffalo, though. And then Duke takes a while to pull away from Army, which was weird. Because Zion, Cam, and RJ all scored over 20, and
Army was staying
took
there.
maybe 28 to 30 minutes to pull away from Army.
Yeah, that was kind of
weird.
weird.
Maybe that's just a playing down to your competition thing, but I think more so the Kentucky thing. We saw them look terrible against Duke, and kind of confirm some of those concerns in the way they played against SIU.
Definitely.
And that, I think, confirms to me what you said, that if anything, we're overrating Kentucky by pushing Duke into number 1.
Exactly. I think we dodged around this question earlier in the season without really investigating what Kentucky's doing. I don't think once again we didn't really feel like their recruiting class was typical of John Calipari's standards. And I think we're once again seeing the dividends of that. I mean, if they don't have somebody like they had like Shea Gill just last year to kind of buoy this team, I think there could be real concerns in Lexington again.
I would agree. I would agree with that 100%. And I have to wonder, like, who really are they? Like, they were the number 2 team in the preseason, and they've already underachieved that. Significantly so. Like, what should they have been in the preseason?
I mean, okay.
I mean, obviously there's no way to say for sure.
It's
but
offensive not to call them a top 10 team, but like I think probably where they are right now, right at 10 or somewhere in that area, is probably where they should have been to start the year.
They are currently in the AP poll at 10. You're right.
Yeah.
Dropping below an Auburn team that absolutely gave it to Washington.
Yeah.
That was an impressive performance by them. And then right behind Kentucky is Michigan State, which barely moved after getting destroyed by Kansas.
Yeah, that's a little weird as well.
Do you think we're overrating Kansas with that?
Interesting. Do I think
because Michigan State got beat wire to wire by Kansas and fell 10th to 11th.
Yeah.
Kentucky got destroyed by Duke and fell 2 to 10.
I think that says more just about expectations coming into the game. I think I think it's more surprising than that they had that sort of response to Michigan State losing and still dropped Kansas out of 1, because clearly they had some respect for what Kansas was doing and what they could accomplish against a team of Michigan State's caliber, yet they still dropped them out of 1.
Which brings us back to overrating Duke.
Yeah, exactly.
And when I say overrating Duke, they're incredible.
Oh, of course.
You know, they're a 9.5, and when I say overrating, I mean people are calling them a 10.5.
Bingo.
Like people are looking at them as like the team this early on. Like they're they're not giving anybody else a chance right now. And obviously, I think we both know it's not the case in college basketball.
God, no. I think Duke's going to have some real struggles this year as they figure out how to mesh all these 3 players together. I don't think I just don't think it's easy as saying, as snapping your fingers and hoping on Coach K. Like, these are 3 players who, for their entire basketball lives, have been the number 1 option, the star.
Right.
And you throw them all together. I mean, honestly, with the exception of Cam Reddish.
Sure.
We talked about this.
He played with a lot of talent.
Maybe that was off air, but like he did play with more talent than is accustomed for great high school players.
Right.
But still,
Yep.
Zion and Cam, that's going to take some time, and I don't know. I think they're gonna match up with someone who what they lack in athleticism they make up for in just general IQ, and that's what they're gonna struggle.
It's a good thing that at least as these talented freshmen you're talking about that are going to take some time to have a learning curve. It's a good thing they're being challenged early by not playing a true road game until January 8th.
Last team in college basketball. It's crazy.
Let's dig into that a little bit. What do you think of that?
I mean, like, I get it. If you don't have to, why would you? Like,
Sure.
you're Duke. Like, you dictate what you want. But yeah, clearly it's kind of crap. Clearly it's a
I hate it. I really hate it. They're not playing a true road game. I'm on here. I'm looking at their non-conference schedule and I see versus. Finally, they go to Wake.
Exactly. Wow.
On January 8th.
Wow.
And then they go to Florida State and they bring in Syracuse.
Yeah.
Andy Cameron to just whoop up on them after losing at Florida State. But they do, to their credit, after this non-conference, they start the ACC with 4 of their first 5 games against ranked teams. So, I mean that's the ACC in a nutshell, but like, that's a tough start to the schedule.
I'm going to have to think if I'm Coach K that like, I would assume his thinking is we're going to get enough of a challenge in our conference schedule.
Yes.
Why put ourselves through
Right.
difficulties in
You're
non-con,
absolutely right.
Like, we play in America's best conference. Why even stress it?
Credit there, too. We've seen in past years, teams like your Princetons, your Yales, or Duke are playing teams in smaller conferences. The examples of Middle Tennessee State and St. Mary's come to mind last year, who did not make the tournament despite having 27, 28 wins because no one played them.
Yeah.
And you made the argument that they played no one.
Sure.
We don't know what's going on behind closed doors, that they're getting denied good opponents like your Duke, etc. But Coach K is bringing in good teams.
Yeah.
So it's symbiotic in the sense that he can stay at home and other teams can get quality opponents. Like, this is what I wanted to bring up next, is they have 2 interesting games coming up on the 19th at home against San Diego State, which is always solid.
Yeah.
And then they bring in Romeo Langford and Indiana on the 27th as part of the Big Ten ACC Challenge.
That'll be super
That
fun.
should be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. That is a respectable stretch of games there for the
I'm interested to see that because I think it'll be fun to see Romeo. Romeo was the number 6 guy, I think, in most respects.
Sure.
Maybe 5, depending on who you were.
Yeah.
But he was right behind these big 3.
He's right behind his big 3 and
He went somewhere where it was going to be his job to be the guy.
Definitely.
When they went somewhere where they could all be together
That
with
is
Coach
very
K.
true.
And I feel like we could see a Dennis Smith Jr.-esque going off party from
that.
Romeo. Just chip on the shoulder, wanting to be like, yo, y'all are top 3, but I'm right there with you. And I went somewhere else where I'm not going to be heard about as much, but I'm just as good.
That could
be fun.
Call.
I want to watch that game. I've just convinced myself to watch that game.
I don't know why you needed any convincing, but yeah, that's going to be a great freaking. I can't wait for that. Yeah. I think Duke's non-con is, of course, like, this is just a year after year kind of a joke to a certain extent. But they bring in
Texas Tech's coming to town.
Exactly. They have that stretch to end non-con of Yale, Princeton, and Texas Tech. Mm-hmm. And Yale and Princeton are something. They'll give them some, some work.
The thing about Duke's non-con is after Kentucky, nobody's good. But I'm sorry, nobody's home none of them are road games. Excuse me. And no one's really good. But no one's bad. Like, none of these teams are, like, RPI or net sub 200s. Like, Stetson's okay.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, they're fine. Okay, Stetson's the worst team on the schedule.
Sure.
But, like, Hartford and Stetson, if those are your 2 worst teams in your non-con, that's not bad.
I guess.
I mean, there are a lot of teams, who will play 3 or 4, like, sub 250 net or RPI or net, however you want to slice it, teams. Whereas a lot of these teams, I'd probably venture to guess the average RPI, Ken Palm, whatever, of this non-con is probably somewhere in the low 80 to 100.
Okay.
Which is damn good.
Sure.
When you're looking at teams who often, I think I was looking at Arizona State as we cover them as reporters, and their average is like 105, and they have a very difficult non-conference, but they also have some really bad teams.
They really brought it down.
Balance it out.
Yeah.
Just like last year, everyone was talking about. I'm going on a little tangent here. But everyone was talking about how they had this great non-con because they beat Kansas and Kansas State and Xavier. Yeah. But they also played, like, RPI 310 Longwood and RPI 305, like, I don't know, Sacramento State, like
Yeah.
just bad teams who, they're like, oh, everybody plays bad teams. That's going to yank down your RPI and your net if they're really bad, and Duke doesn't do that.
No, exactly.
So that's my point, crediting Duke. At least you're playing decent teams.
Coach K knows how to work the system. Coach K knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly what sort of RPI or what sort
all
of
these
rankings.
big coaches does.
I know.
If you look at the schedule Boeheim puts together, there's nobody truly bad on that schedule.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And they're all decent teams. They've all, there's a lot of they're playing Old Dominion and Buffalo and good mid majors.
Yeah.
Same story, I'm sure is true. UNC just went on the road twice.
Yeah.
We can talk about them.
Going on the road to Wofford to a place that beat you last year.
Yeah, they went
to something.
They went to Wofford and they went to Elon.
Yeah.
They played two teams in their state, and they're like, nope, we're gonna go on the road to play them. And sure, they killed Elon by 49, and they beat Wofford, and then they come home and they whoop up on Stanford. But that's cool to see them go on the road, and they're gonna go to Michigan too for the Big Ten ACC Challenge, and then they're gonna host Gonzaga and Kentucky. Holy cow! I didn't realize how hard UNC's non-con is. Oh my goodness,
that's pretty impressive.
We're talking about great, you're Duke, great, but UNC, your non-conference, your conference rival, has a non-con of Stanford, Texas, Michigan, Gonzaga, Kentucky.
Jeez.
Wow.
And
throw in Harvard for good measure.
Just because, yeah. Wow.
And UNC Wilmington and Davidson.
That's impressive.
Woof, that's rough.
But I think that's a solid segue into let's talk about this North Carolina team.
Yeah.
What have you seen from them so far that has excited you?
Right now, I'm seeing from them that they closed the season at Duke, Florida State, Syracuse, at Clemson, at BC, and then Duke. Holy cow! It's a gauntlet of a final 6 games. But I think we're seeing from them what we knew we'd see from them. We've seen Nazir Little be great. Yeah. We've seen Luke May be the upperclassman you'd want him to be, and you're seeing a Roy Williams team that's constructed very well. There's not a lot that's been like, wow, look at this. I think Cam Johnson has really taken a step. I've always had a little bit of a for Cam Johnson.
The pit part of it.
Well, because there was a game, and I'm gonna let my bias shine through here. There was a game. I've been to 2 Syracuse games at the Carrier Dome. First one, they destroyed Florida State and Chris McCullough tore whatever he tore. And then I went to a Pittsburgh game the year Syracuse went to the Final Four, but it was late in the season, and Pittsburgh comes in, and I think Pitt won by 7, and Cam Johnson made 9 threes. And ever since then, I've just whenever I see his name. But to his credit, he's been holy gee, he's shooting 71% from 3.
Yeah.
7-14. It's probably 7 out of 8.
No, it's probably 12 to 15, something like that. Would be my guess.
Sure.
But still really impressive.
Averaging 18 and 7. He's exactly what they hoped he'd be. He's shooting 64% from the field. By God,
he's really good. No, he's super talented.
Yeah.
There's a reason North Carolina was so adamant on getting him. He is a huge difference maker for that team, and his combination, I think, with Nazir Little is huge.
How much does he remind you of Justin Jackson? Because he
really
reminds me of him.
That's a spot on comparison.
Mm-hmm. And how huge was he for them?
Exactly. That's just exactly the type of player that Roy Williams is looking for.
Upperclassman.
Any sort of coach, any sort of good coach is looking for those 6'8" versatile wings who are gonna help you win basketball games.
I'm waiting to see something from Seventh Woods because for 15 minutes a game, 2 points and 2 boards.
So disappointing.
Disappointing.
I have been on Seventh
and 4
Woods
assists
since his 8th grade mixtape was the most viewed mixtape on YouTube of all time. That is an incredible statement to me. Seventh Woods, but still, he has been so disappointing in Chapel Hill.
For reference, there are scorers ahead of him who average more points that have played 5, 3, and 9 minutes a game on this roster.
Ugh.
He's averaging 1.7 points, 1.7 boards, 4 assists in 14 minutes.
That's great. It's so disappointing.
Real bad. I would love to see the per 40 minutes breakdown of that. That's yikes.
Yeah, that is.
But when you've got Luke May, Garrison Brooks, Nazir Little, Cam Johnson showing out,
Kobe White's
Kobe White's solid. Yeah,
exactly. He was one of those under the radar sort of recruits that no one was talking. He fell out of that. I think he was still a top 40, but not not in that elite group.
Luke May quietly getting almost a double-double average.
I feel like that's his whole career. Quietly getting a double-double.
Exactly. 16 and 8. This is this is probably one of the few teams that we'll see in college basketball this year where its construction will be better than will rise its talent.
Interesting.
Where Duke is going to be good because its players are insane, not because the roster is well constructed.
Sure, for sure.
UNC will be that good because its players are good
Sure.
and its construction is perfect.
I can get
Like
behind
they
that.
work so well together.
Yeah,
You've got
yeah,
Luke
yeah.
May, the big man, guy like Cam Johnson playing as your wing, Nazir Little adding scoring. That's a well constructed team that I think is going to have success this season.
I agree. I'm looking
I
forward to seeing.
they're. I don't know if you can call the number 7 team underrated, but I think they're underrated in terms of perception.
Okay.
Because I feel like they're stuck in this behind Duke and Virginia mindset in a lot of people's minds. But I legitimately think there's a scenario where they win the ACC, no doubt.
Oh, of course, for sure.
And I
mean,
think people aren't giving them that in a widespread sense.
I'm going to go the other way with, not the other way, but a different narrative about UNC is that I could totally see them flying under the radar going into March.
Sure.
Because,
Being like that 3 seed,
We're looking at this non-con. They're going to get some losses here. They're hosting Kentucky and Gonzaga, like you said. They should win. They could win both those games, but it's much more likely they split. They're traveling to Michigan, and then again, like we said, they play in America's hardest conference, and that combination is probably going to give them some losses we're not accustomed to. I could totally see them slipping under the radar.
I mean, this is
3-4 seed and making some noise that way.
You're talking about a UNC team that last year got a 2 seed with 10 losses.
Yeah.
They were the number 6 seed in the ACC tournament, and they got a 2 seed.
That's
and of course, they got ousted very early. And I think that team flew too far over the radar.
Okay.
And this one's flying too low under the radar for people's perception. And I think that's going to benefit them. Because I think a lot of people are they're going to get some, like, favorable 4-13 and 5-12 matchup, and then they're going to get some 1 seed that they can pick off in the Sweet 16, or at least challenge. Like they're gonna get Gonzaga or something in the Sweet 16 as a 1 seed.
Tennessee.
And have a really good game. Yep, 1 seed Tennessee, because the SEC deserves a 1 seed.
They deserve 2, actually.
3, yeah. Just your 1 seeds are Auburn, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Loyola Chicago.
Perfect. Finally.
But yeah, so UNC I think is a team that a lot of people aren't talking about and should be, for sure. But I think that kind of does it for as far as just getting through the big notable teams. I think before we move on, we need to have our weekly moment of silence. So if everyone will please bow your heads and close your eyes and just
explain.
I'm explaining. Every week we're gonna get on the podcast and we're gonna just have a moment of silence for the teams for which John Rothstein has tweeted blank loses a bye game to blank. The epitome of brutality, because it really is the epitome of brutality. It's really sad. You paid to lose. But the other team got paid to win, so good for them. Here's your teams for our moment of silence this week. UCF, SMU, LaSalle, West Virginia losing to Buffalo, Texas A&M, George Mason, South Carolina, Richmond, George Washington, and St. Bonaventure. So moment of silence. Okay.
Thank you, man, listeners, for indulging us for that.
I'd imagine this entire podcast listening is a moment of silence for you. But, it's also you're joining us in that moment of silence there.
Much appreciated.
But one thing that stuck out as I was listing those off to Jacob before the podcast was West Virginia and Buffalo was a bye game.
Yeah, but West Virginia paid Buffalo, knowing full well they might have a worse team than Buffalo. Like Buffalo is very good.
C.J. Massenberg,
he's awesome,
so good, and he's a great drummer. They tweeted out a video of him drumming. He was really good.
That's
playing the drum set after the game. I mean, celebrating another win. Winning in West Virginia was impressive, and we'll get to that. But what really impressed me with a team that, when you're a mid-major, one of the hardest things to do, almost harder than getting good, is staying good. Because you're a lot of guys who've only ever had to handle in-conference success. You've only ever had to handle, conference regular season titles. Mm-hmm. When you get that little number next to your name, a lot of guys, can handle that very poorly. And so them going to Southern Illinois after winning at West Virginia and holding on and winning that game, almost as impressive to me as beating West Virginia. Because that shows me that, obviously on paper, beating West Virginia is way more impressive. But that tells me a lot that they're here to stay and that they have the winning mentality and that it seems like they were prepared to be this good this season. Like they were entering the season ready to be this good.
They knew how talented a roster they had compiled.
And that's why they scheduled so well.
Yeah. Yeah, they scheduled so well. I think they're coming off a program-defining win last year in the tournament. Just destroying Arizona like that. I think not put them on the map, but gave some credibility to everything they'd been talking about.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so I think they are clearly building off this year. They started the season undefeated. They are for real. They finally entered the rankings. This is a legit basketball program that needs that the big heads need to keep on watch about.
Yeah, and going forward, it doesn't end now. I mean, they're gonna play Syracuse and Marquette. They're gonna have plenty of challenges ahead of them. So I'm excited to see how they do in those games. I mean, hopefully they pick up a loss on December 18th.
St. Bonaventure as well.
Yeah, that's gonna be a fun one too. They're playing the whole state of New York. Pretty much, I mean, all the competitive teams in New York.
Sure, yeah.
But playing at Syracuse is gonna be fun. That was a close game last year. People forget that.
Yeah.
Buffalo-Syracuse was way too close last year for comfort.
But yeah, that stretch of Syracuse and Marquette back-to-back really will tell us something about this team. If they're able to sweep that, which would be
two road games, too.
Exactly.
These are all road games.
Two true road
If Buffalo were to beat Syracuse and Marquette and Bonnie's, you're talking about a team that's going to have like a top 5 net.
Sure.
Like, holy cow.
Yeah.
You're going to have road wins over 3 teams who will probably end the season in the net top 5, top 25. It's really hard not to say RPI. It's really hard. But you're going to have wins over 3 teams on the road that will probably end this season in like the top 20, top 25.
Definitely. That'd be super impressive. That'd be a real defining moment for this.
Like you get
program.
to the point. You could get to the point where you don't even need to win the MAC.
I guess, yeah.
Conference tournament.
I guess.
Conference tournament.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Conference tournament. Yes, of course. They don't need that auto bid anymore. But they're still.
In my opinion, they do need to win the regular season title. Because if you're not winning the regular season title, you're probably losing at least 4 MAC games, and that's probably inexcusable.
That's
but you could probably lose 2 or 3 now. This makes up for that.
Bought yourself a little cushion for sure.
Exactly.
I'm curious to see how the committee really evaluates them. If we're going to be honest, because like I don't know if we've seen this before time and time again, but with a conference schedule this week, I'm curious to see how highly they hold that in regard, or how much they let that hurt them coming into seeding and that time of year. I'm just curious to see how much they value these early season wins.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they will. I think they really will value them.
I hope so.
And I don't mean that in the sense that like they're gonna give this team like a 5 seed for or like 4 seed if they do really well. But I think a MAC champion Buffalo that wins 29 games and 3 of those are over West Virginia, Syracuse, and Marquette. That's probably a 6 or 7 seed if I'm being really honest.
Yeah, well, that'd be real impressive.
Mm-hmm. It depends how good the MAC is.
Sure.
The MAC's not going to be very good this year, I don't think.
Sure.
I think Buffalo's going to run away with it handedly. Probably win 16, 17 games. But again, then in that scenario, if you're beating Syracuse and Marquette and West Virginia, you're maybe a 30-31 win team. And if we've seen anything in the past, 30-31 win mid-major teams get 1 seeds.
I mean, we could shout out Wichita State. Like that's what
Gonzaga could be that. I mean, they were 2 years ago.
Yeah.
There's a really weird scenario where we have 1 seeds for Buffalo and Gonzaga.
God,
all I'm saying.
God,
all I'm
that'd
saying.
be weird.
There's a really weird scenario where we have 1 and 2 seeds for Gonzaga, Nevada, and Buffalo.
What is happening?
And it's time to start the debate. I'm gonna give you a scenario, Jacob.
Give it to me.
Duke has 24 wins, 24 and 7.
Okay.
Let's say, let's say 25 and 6.
Okay.
UNC is 24 and 7. Virginia's 24 and 7. Kentucky's 23 and 8. Like all these teams, no one's got more than 27 wins. I mean, Kansas has 27 wins. Okay. Buffalo's got 31.
Yeah.
Nevada's got 30. Gonzaga's got 31. Wow. Name me your 4-1 seeds.
Oh, that is. I mean, I'm probably
27 win Kansas, 26 win Duke, 25 win UNC, 24 win Virginia. Let's just make those generic.
I'm sorry. Who was the third mid-major that you said? Buffalo, Gonzaga, and who was?
And 30 win Nevada.
And 31 Nevada. Jesus. I'd probably at that point. Buffalo's my 2 of those. I'm doing Nevada, Gonzaga.
Because of the MAC.
Exactly. Nevada, Gonzaga, Duke, and Kansas. Or like winner of the ACC and Kansas.
And we'd also be talking about a Gonzaga team that would have beaten UNC probably in that scenario.
Exactly.
So
exactly. That gives a little more credence to that sort of. But yeah, I think we've seen with Gonzaga that they're able to schedule enough that
they'll beat Washington. They'd be beating Washington, Tennessee, and UNC.
Okay.
So yeah, they probably have the better
at that
schedule.
point. At that point.
I mean, the WCC is not as good as the MAC, but I think perception for sure would give Gonzaga the 1 seed.
Exactly.
And Nevada the 1 seed because Buffalo's the new guy. Buffalo's the newcomer into this group of good mid majors, and if they were to win 30 games, they'd be looking at a scenario where they'd have to be perceived as more successful than your Dukes, your Kentuckys, your Virginias, where Nevada and Gonzaga are already on par.
Yeah.
They're already there in people's minds.
Yeah, I don't know if Nevada's quite in that mix yet. I mean, it's been I think only a couple of years for Nevada, and they're
but perception-wise, people have them there. Clearly, look at people.
Yeah,
I mean, look at every rating. Look at KenPom. Look at Sagarin ratings. They're top 10 in everything.
I guess, yeah.
And I think a little bit of that might be everyone saying, "Oh, Nevada's gonna be good," but like, still, I think perception-wise, they have the full like necessary pieces to be a 1 seed.
Sure.
Because you factor the perception into the good schedule and talented team. So that's kind of my thing about Nevada. They certainly have a couple of tests going ahead, and one of which I believe you'll be at, right, when they play ASU at Staples Center.
That I will.
That should be fun.
That should be great.
Because I think a lot of people don't know about how talented this ASU team can be.
Yeah,
they're not phenomenal, but like they could be that. They could pick off that Nevada team. At least play them tight.
No doubt. Speaking of future games, I think it'd be a great time to delve into the schedule going forward and talk about some games of interest in the
yes, absolutely. Right, almost a half an hour into this podcast, and I think it's a good time to talk about the national title game rematch between Michigan and Villanova this weekend in this part of the Gavitt tip-off games at Villanova. That's going to be fun.
That's going to be awesome.
Just for the sake of the national title rematch.
Exactly. That's always cool.
I think Villanova's going to work them.
Really?
I mean, yeah. I was never that high on Michigan to begin with. I think they have plenty of decent guys.
Swaggy Poole?
Yeah, he's okay. I mean,
yeah, exactly. He's okay. That's the thing.
He's averaging a tidy 3, 5, and 2 in 29 minutes.
Exactly. That's the thing about Jordan Poole is we're always going to remember him for that shot.
Yeah, he's really not that good.
No, exactly. That's the whole thing.
I don't even know who this is, but Ignas Brazdeikis is their leading scorer right now and leading rebounder. I've definitely never heard that name. Charles Matthews is solid.
Yep.
And John Beelan's a great coach. But Jay Wright is Jay Wright. Villanova's Villanova, and you're playing on the road. You already got killed by them last year, and in my opinion, this Michigan team is worse than last year's.
Definitely.
Michigan last year had the talent of a 2 seed, probably had the regular season of a 6 seed, but then swept through the Big Ten tournament and got really hot.
Exactly.
And then rolled through a relatively easy region where you had to play Houston, Florida State, Texas A&M to get to the Final Four. And then Loyola in the Final Four game.
Yeah, not exactly.
So, yeah, they probably played one of the easiest roads to the title game, but they were good. This year's team's worse.
Definitely.
And I think 18 is probably overrating them early on. I think I had them like a 6 seed. I don't know. I don't think they're going to be this good. I think they're gonna get exposed by a really good Villanova team.
Yeah, I really hope this is an entrance in the national sort of conversation about this Nova team.
Yep,
this idea that it's not part of the elite group of college basketball right now is preposterous.
It's heinous.
Like this Villanova team is just as good as we've seen in the past couple of years. And the idea that they're not part of the
I mean, they just worked a solid Quinnipiac team.
Exactly.
Phil Booth's already averaging 20 a game. Eric Pascal's good. Sadiq Bey is in their top 3 scorers.
Interesting.
Good for him. One of my Philly guys that I covered, Colin Gillespie.
Javon Quinterly still is slowly.
Yeah, we're waiting for him.
Exactly. We give him time, but yeah. So I obviously love what Nova's doing. Like, right. Not, but so that'll be a great game. Another really intriguing game is Marquette traveling to Indiana.
Yes, we've talked about Indiana. I think Indiana wins that game. I think Indiana's sneaky. I think Indiana people sleep on the combination of Juwan Morgan and Romeo Langford. I've talked about that a bunch. I think this is kind of the night that they can prove to some of the naysayers that Indiana basketball is at least somewhat back this year. Not all the way back, not what they once were, but back in the sense of like competitive again, relevant again. And I think you start that by beating a team in Marquette that I don't think should be the top 25 yet.
Wow. Okay. You're not that high on Marquette.
I don't think they're this good. I think they're too much dependent on Marcus Howard.
Yeah.
There's not much around him, in my opinion,
really
that really says to me, wow. I mean, look at this. He's averaging 26 a game, and the next highest scorer is averaging 12.
Mm-hmm.
That should tell you all you need to know.
Yeah, it really is all you need to know.
And I think Indiana's a good enough team that when you're that one-dimensional, you don't pick them off. I think anytime Marcus Howard doesn't have a great night, I think Marquette probably loses.
To a certain extent, yeah. I mean, great night.
And that's going to be 9 or 10 times probably this season.
Sure, yeah. I think this is their first true test of the season. I think this could be a huge moment for Marcus Howard, obviously, if he's able to go into Indiana and, drop 30, drop 35 on a top recruit like that, because it's going to be him versus Romeo the entire game. Like, that is the matchup everyone's watching. They match up position-wise. They're going to match up in terms of usage. I think maybe Indiana's slightly less reliant on Romeo, but they still have, each team has their bull.
There's clearly that guy.
Exactly. And so it'll just be a mano-a-mano. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too. Good game going on tonight. LSU, as we stand right now, beating Memphis 26-25.
Yeah.
You are pretty high on this LSU team.
I am. Yeah. I think that LSU is fun. I love Naz Reid, so I'm excited to see. But yeah, no, it's super encouraging that a Memphis team that, is not clearly up to the caliber of LSU. Like, this is not a...
Memphis is good.
They're fine, but, I mean,
they'll be better next year when they have James Wiseman.
Definitely.
Which is not definite.
Yeah, let's Penny Hardaway's doing stuff, though. Penny Hardaway's dropping bags.
Your LSU Tiger of choice is averaging 23 and 7 right now and shooting 45% from 3.
Yeah.
My LSU Tiger... And it's Naz Reid, by the way.
Thank you.
My LSU Tiger of choice is averaging 15 and 6 and 6 steals.
Tremont Waters.
Yes. And shooting 60% from 3. So those two leading that LSU team, I think that combination is going to be so much fun this year.
Oh, they're awesome. And throwing Emmett Williams. Emmett Williams is not a name to
There's
stop
a lot of balance here. I mean, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players averaging double figures, and Emmett Williams is right behind at 9.5.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how that game turns out tonight. It should be a good one down in Baton Rouge. But back to the looking ahead portion, there's plenty happening at the Garden this weekend.
Yeah,
I certainly have some interest in that.
Yes,
a fun tournament. I think there's 4 teams playing at this 2K Empire Classic, all of which have a lot of question marks.
Sure.
There's a lot that we don't know. You got Syracuse, which is number 15 in the country. Everyone knows they're supposed to be good. Tyus Battle's good. O'Shea Brissett's good. Jim Boeheim's one of the best coaches in the game. They haven't looked phenomenal. They struggled to really pull away from a decent to bad Morehead State team, and they whooped up on Eastern Washington by playing great defense.
Yeah.
UConn, on the other side of that game, and first of all, having experienced it, Syracuse-UConn games at the Garden are so much fun. Just because you've got Syracuse fans coming in from all over New York, and UConn fans coming from right across the state line in Connecticut, creates a really fun atmosphere at the best arena in sports, in my opinion.
I don't think you're offending anybody with that.
I don't think anyone can prove otherwise. Such a fun place to see a game.
Oh, yeah.
And Syracuse-UConn is a great matchup to see there. But that should be interesting because you've got this whole Dan Hurley thing. How good is UConn going to be under him in his first year? I mean, they just destroyed 2 pretty bad opponents. I believe the last one was UMKC.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And now they're going to play Syracuse, and it's 2 all-time great programs, one of which is struggling, one of which is just starting to return to the national landscape. That should be fun. You've got an Oregon team that we all know has talent. They haven't really proven anything yet, and this is going to be their chance if they can win this tournament. Be like, hey, we are legit, especially if they end up playing Syracuse in the second round of that tournament. But they're playing an Iowa team that I think a lot of people expect to be bad. I'm in that camp. There's not a lot on this roster that screams like, yeah, they're going to be good. But all in all, an interesting field at the 2K Empire Classic. Predict to me that tournament. How does it pan out?
I think it's inevitable Syracuse and Oregon meet in the final. That seems
really. You think inevitable?
Not inevitable, but okay. If I'm a betting man, that's
okay.
That's
I think it's likely.
Yeah, exactly, and that's going to be an awesome game. I think. I question whether Syracuse has anyone to really match up with someone of Bull's caliber.
Here's my thing about that: Bull's a zone breaker. Is exactly what you want to break that zone.
Yeah.
But Pascal Chuk was also 7'2".
Sure, those are different 7'2".
I know,
so,
but at least you have the height.
I guess.
At least you can stay with him around the rim and not be reaching up like ASU's big men will be later in the season.
I mean, we all know the key to breaking the 2-3 zone is getting that high post action. If that's where they put Bull, that'd be scary.
Yeah.
7-3 in the middle at the free throw line, just putting his hands up, that'd be wild.
My thing, I'm curious to see how well. Because Syracuse has done the thing this year, and I think they've toyed with it because they've been playing smaller teams. But they've gone with a smaller lineup recently, where they'll have a lineup of, and it's small in a relative sense because you're not having the 7-footer on the floor. But you've got not Frank Howard, he hasn't been back yet, but Jalen Carey, Tyus Battle, Elijah Hughes, O'Shea Brissett, and then Marek Dolezaj at the 5.
Sure.
And I doubt they'll play that once against Oregon.
Yeah,
if you're running that when Bull's off the floor and you see him checking in, you're like, Pascal, get out there now. Go. But I'd be curious to see if they run that at all. because it's been one of their better lineups.
Yeah.
It's been one of their better offensive lineups.
Yeah.
But I feel like for the defensive side of things, you have to have Pascal in there for probably at least 30 minutes of this game.
Yeah, of course. He has to just be, every time Bobo's in, he has to be.
Yeah.
Like, it has to be.
Like, maybe you throw in a little bit of Brahma Sidibe just to, like, give him some rest. But if Pascal picks up fouls, Oregon probably runs with this game.
Speaking of another team in this tournament, UConn, did you know that Jim Calhoun is coaching?
Yeah,
Did you know this?
Isn't he at, like, Division III, like, St. Joseph or something?
Division III St. Joseph, spot on. I had no idea. I am more into this as I pulled up the UConn Huskies ESPN. That is wild. What is he doing? Why is he there?
You know who's not coaching? Kevin Ollie.
True.
You know who's a bad basketball coach?
Kevin
Ollie.
Yeah, definitely. Wow, that is why. What does Jim Calhoun do? Like, I don't get this.
For the love of the game.
I guess, but like, how are you not getting at least a D? Like, how is there no D1 team willing to give Jim Calhoun a shot?
Who knows, man?
That's
I don't know. Why didn't UConn bring him back?
So many questions.
For goodness sake, I mean, there are so many programs that need to coach. I mean, Indiana wouldn't have minded having him before they hired Archie Miller.
Yeah, really. I think there are so many programs who would think Jim Calhoun. Yeah. Very weird. Very weird.
So you think it's inevitable that Cuse and Oregon meet in that
To
final?
a certain extent, yeah. I think
I wouldn't be stunned if UConn picked Syracuse off.
That's probably more likely than
Iowa's not beating Oregon.
Exactly.
Yeah, no way.
So
because Iowa does not have that size. If UConn picks off Syracuse, Oregon's gonna run through this tournament.
Yes,
they're gonna rip through it.
No doubt. No, I still kind of like Oregon though, not to rip through it, but have a relatively easy path to the championship. I think Oregon might be really good.
Mm-hmm. Give me what we've talked about this week. I don't think there's any other really compelling matchups coming up in the next 7-day period. I mean, Michigan goes to George Washington. I know Georgetown and Illinois play tonight. It's kind of an interesting middling game. There's an event in Las Vegas next week that we know ASU's playing in with Mississippi State. That should be a fun one. But just over the next 7 days, give me a bold prediction.
Ooh, give you a bold prediction.
A bold prediction.
7... Oh man, Spring. Do you have one on mind by any chance?
I don't. I'm just curious.
Oh man, a bold prediction for the next 7 days. Marcus Howard drops 40. That's
40.
That's my bold prediction.
In Assembly Hall.
In Assembly Hall, Marcus Howard goes off, and as the Golden Eagles pull out some freaking 92-90 victory.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a shootout in Indiana, and I think we're going to see some incredible performances. You have anything?
Yeah, Nova is leading Michigan by 20 at the half.
I like it. I like it.
Wins by like 25 or 30.
I like yours a lot.
Like they run him out of the gym, out of the renovated Finneran Pavilion, which looks beautiful. I mean, for the pavilion had so much charm.
Yeah.
But man, for a program that good, that place was a dump.
Sure, yeah.
It was really like it was college basketball at its finest, and it was like a beautiful stadium in the sense of like the atmosphere. But man, that place was kind of ugly, and it looks amazing now. It looks really good. So I'm excited to see them use it well and destroy Michigan on Wednesday.
One little interesting factoid that is no longer true once you are listening to this podcast because Wisconsin has played. But did you know who the country's leader in assists was through one game?
Who's that?
Wisconsin forward Ethan Happ with 12. With 12. He threw up a triple-double in Wisconsin's opening win.
Whoa, really?
Yep, he threw up a triple-double. How
about what?
I think it was like 18, 13, and 12.
Jeez.
Right? Yeah. 12 assists from Ethan Happ. That's real impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I know you've been high on him for quite a while.
I have. I like to consider myself part of the Ethan Happ bandwagon, but God, I didn't expect this. That's wild.
For sure.
Very impressive.
Any other thoughts going into the week ahead?
I'm excited. I'm ready for some more good college basketball. Champions Classic was a nice little taste.
Yeah.
But I'm ready for some more meat. I'm ready for some some real hardcore games. It's time.
I'm looking. The next thing I'm really looking forward to is the Big Ten ACC Challenge.
Yeah, that's gonna be.
I think we're gonna have a year where the ACC just rips through the Big Ten.
Man, I mean,
like maybe goes like 11-3.
I feel like this is the year where this is the biggest gap we've seen from the two conferences in a while.
Definitely.
In terms of overall talent. So yeah, I wouldn't be shocked either.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, there's gonna be fun games next week. We'll talk to you all about it. We'll be back on Thursday.
Yep.
Want to do a quick sprinkling of NBA just to get the fans excited?
We'll give them a little taste. We're gonna catch on that Jimmy Butler trade.
Yes.
We had many thoughts about that one. So
that Jimmy Butler trade, that was our idea. Well, it was Jacob's idea. I agreed with it.
You agreed with it. Sideline Intel CEO Ryan Sharp was also somehow involved in this trade prediction. He
Claims.
He definitely claims, but I will give him some credit. I definitely remember talking about it with him as well.
Sure.
So listen to us for more trade predictions that will obviously inevitably happen.
That and Karis LeVert.
You can't wait. Oh wow, Jesus! just gonna go like that. Just gonna go for the jugular like that. Wow. He's gonna be okay though. He's gonna be doesn't need surgery. How wild is that?
Good.
Yeah,
Well, that's good to hear.
Exactly.
Well, apparently, just like Karis LeVert, we'll be back soon.